We are continuing with Rising's new series of interviews with interesting social media figures. Next up is Dave Smith, a comedian and host of the Part of the Problem podcast. Smith identifies as a libertarian, like me. He's known for calling out Democrats, Republicans, and also plenty of other libertarians, particularly when they espouse interventionist foreign policy views that he thinks have led the country down a bad path for far too long. Smith joins us now to discuss Biden, Trump, everything else that's going on right now. Welcome to Rising, Dave.
Thanks, Robbie. Thanks for having me.
So there's been some news this week. I don't know if you've heard the former president, Donald Trump, was almost assassinated, murdered. Joe Biden's not having a very good week and is sort of widely expected now to actually exit the ticket any day. I bet against it, so I'm going to be the moron here if my prediction ends up wrong. Of course, now he has COVID, which could be like his excuse because so many liberals and progressives still think that is so debilitating that, how could you even go on? What do you make of what's happening? Let's start with Biden. What should Democrats be thinking? Because the bottom line is Kamala Harris, she polls maybe a little bit better than Biden. I accept that possibly she would be a stronger candidate, although she still looks likely to lose to Trump to me.
Yeah, well, I would say, number one, the major scandal here is that clearly President Biden wasn't vaccinated. So that's something we should be looking into.
Because he said you're not going to get it. He famously said that. You can't get it if you're vaccinated.
Well, okay, so I have been predicting for quite a while now that Biden wouldn't be the nominee from well before his catastrophic debate performance. But I wouldn't say, I was making the prediction not with 100% certainty. Much closer to 100% certainty now. It's just, look, politics, as much as people like me and you don't want to acknowledge this, voters who pay very little attention greatly outnumber voters who pay a lot of attention to politics. And overall, that's probably a good thing. There's too many of us. But just looking at the optics of this, which is what most people are going to look at, it's like completely unprecedented. There's nothing like the last 3-week stretch that I could even compare it to, where the optics are so bad for Biden and so good for Donald Trump. And obviously, he moved his head a fraction of an inch out of the way from being assassinated on national television. But it looked so cool. The fact that the guy, he gets up and gives the fist with blood all over his face, this and the juxtaposition to the current president who's having trouble walking and speaking, and then to have to cancel campaign events over COVID, it's just another thing that makes him look weak and old. The video that was coming out today of him coming down the stairs of Air Force One there, it's just... No reasonable person can argue that this guy is fit to be president. And so you're right, Kamala Harris is a problematic candidate in her own right, and the polls aren't much different, but she's at least not that. And so I think with the Democratic donor base, with the Democratic congressional base, and now what appears to be Barack Obama turning against Joe Biden, I just don't see any way that he can survive this.
Of course, he just has to stick it out, right? He can have everyone on the earth, and as long as the delegates still back him, and so far the reporting I've seen suggests the delegates are still going to vote for him unless he specifically tells them that they don't have to. So we have to count on, yes, would I think it would be persuasive that Barack Obama and all senior members of the party and everyone in the media is telling him to get out? Yes. But if at the end of the day, the only people he's listening to are Jill Biden and Hunter Biden, and all he has to do is do nothing and he gets it by default, that's what maybe I don't expect that to happen anymore. I still think that, because he clearly wants to be president. Both these men want to be president very, very badly. It's kind of like awe-inspiring is not the right word, almost terrifying how badly they hunger for more political power. Joe Biden, elderly, should be enjoying retirement, not up for this remotely whatsoever anymore, still seeking it. Donald Trump lost last time, has faced multiple criminal indictments, has had his entire party turn on him multiple times and said, no, I demand to be president again, I will be president again, and now has completely won to an unprecedented degree, even for him, that struggle over his own party. I don't know how much of the RNC you've been watching this week. He There is zero dissent. There is less dissent against Trump within the party than ever before. It is his part. He has won it totally and utterly out of just his conviction that he should be president again.
Well, look, I mean, the obvious asymmetry there is that Donald Trump has tens of millions of hardcore, followers who want him and only him to be the nominee. That's just not the case with Joe Biden. And the truth is, I saw some people on, oh God, I'm trying to remember who it was. I think it was somebody, I think on MSNBC, who was trying to spin it as if like, well, look, I mean, the Democrats are so much better. Oh, I think it was Brian Stelter, actually. I think it was on CNN, my mistake, that he was saying, well, look, I mean, the Democrats have these conversations about switching their nominee, but the Republicans will never have this conversation. But that's totally not true. I mean, look, however you feel about the guy, the objective fact is that in 2016, when Donald Trump was running for president, the entire Republican establishment was working against him. You had National Review ran their Never Trump edition. They pulled out Mitt Romney, the previous nominee, to give a speech saying anybody except this guy has to be the nominee. And of course, this year, a lot of the big donor Republican money was going toward, at different points, DeSantis and Nikki Haley. They were just rejected by the voters. The voters want Donald Trump. And of course, he was largely fueled by the raid in Mar-a-Lago and all of the other, court cases. And now, after this, surviving an assassination attempt, it's over. You can't get that guy out of the way. Joe Biden is a very different situation. This guy has been carried his entire presidency by the corporate media, who have just in the last few weeks bailed on him. Now, you're right, technically, he'd have to agree to step down, but I think there's all types of pressure that we know about and all types of pressure that we don't know about that can be put on a president. So my guess is that Joe Biden is going to make the decision within the next few days.
Yeah, they keep saying it's his decision to make, and when they're interviewed on the media, and the media will say, yeah, he made it. It's made. He says it's made. And then they'll say, whatever he does, we're with him, and he can just make that decision, but he better get to it. Again, it's already been made. Yeah, we're really waiting on that decision. It's starting to feel like, okay, we get what you're saying. All right, we're going to be back with more of this conversation that's going to air in the weekend. Check that out. More Rising right after this.